All right, everybody. So I am so excited to announce this podcast interview is done with Paige Roux. She is a firearms instructor. Her family owns 3 different shooters worlds in Arizona, and she has been able to do something that very few people have been able to do, especially being a woman in the industry, in the firearms industry. And she's able to really be able to balance the masculine and the feminine, both in business as well as her relationships. And she talks about some of the shortcomings that she had to go through to be able to be the person she is today. So I'm really excited for this. Please, please, please. It's a longer episode, but you want to listen the whole way through. There are so many gems in this podcast. Be sure to listen the whole way through, rate, review, subscribe, comment, do whatever you need to do to push this information out there because it's highly useful, it's highly beneficial, and you're going to love it. All right, everybody. So welcome to another episode of the Jacque Show. I'm super pumped today to have Paige Roux on here. We're going to be talking about a lot of really fun stuff. But thank you so much, Paige, for taking the time out on a Friday morning to be able to shoot with me. I really appreciate you being here.
Of course, I'm excited. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to start off just by having some random questions for you just to kind of warm up the audience. So I want to just go a random fun fact about you that maybe not everybody knows. What would be something you'd be willing to share?
Okay, so I would say a random fun fact. Everyone knows me as the gun girl, and we'll get into this, but I grew up in the gun industry. I'm a firearms instructor. But a fun fact about me is I actually didn't go full-time into firearms instructing until 2020 during COVID.
Okay.
I was a senior in college going to Arizona State University, and I was forever I wanted to do hospitality management or event planning. And so I'm a certified event planner. And I was almost done finishing college going into my internship for it's like tourism planning and like land planning and where to put hospitality and tourism.
Okay. So it's exactly what you're doing right now, right?
Well, you can't go to college to learn how to shoot guns, so I guess college is no longer needed for me right now.
Yeah, that's fair. I feel like a lot of people may have done that pivot, but doing it during COVID, that's especially with all the stuff that they were trying to do and the risk of like taking firearms and all of that, you just ran right into it. So that's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Good. All right. So this one is, I know this next one's going to be a hard one for you. What is your favorite gun and why? We'll throw a why in there as well.
So do you know what's really funny is I actually make it a point to never answer this question.
Oh, okay.
I've been in the industry and I don't want to say this like, oh, like none of them are my favorite. I have a couple favorites, but
Sure.
I've grown up in the industry. I've been in the industry for so long and I have my hands on so many firearms throughout the week, new guns that are coming out. I'm grateful to be part of collaboration. So there's nothing that's like I've got a dream gun or and everyone's so disappointed by that answer, but I'm like, I don't have a favorite. I really don't.
It's
However,
honest, yeah.
the firearm that I would say I carry right now is it's Sig Sauer P365X.
Okay.
I'm able to conceal it as a very popular firearm. And they came out with a smaller caliber version called the 365 chambered in 380. That's all like, depending on who's listening, they're like, I have no idea what she's talking about. But
Yeah.
it's a smaller gun, and I love that because for my female students, that is the hole in all of these guns that one kind of filled that gap, and it was so fulfilling, and I was so excited when that gun came out. It's not even a year old yet, so that's going to be like my favorite. It's nothing impressive. It's completely opposite. I'm sure what other people would think, but yeah, that's
fine. Yeah, whatever's your favorite. At first I was like, okay, you're being like a parent where like I don't want to choose my favorite child. I love them all the same, but
I'm like, I like them all for different reasons. I don't know, and some I really don't like, but yeah.
Well, I mean, each one serves its own purpose, so yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, we know what you carry now, so that's
I'm right.
yeah.
Yeah, everyone needs to try it.
There you go. All right. So what's or who would you say your biggest motivation is?
Who is my biggest motivation?
Uh-huh.
I would say I have two.
Okay.
I have two.
Sure.
Okay.
There's no rules on the show.
Well, I started out my biggest motivation was definitely my stepmom growing up.
Okay.
She's the CFO of our company or of our family. We have 3 indoor shooting ranges in Arizona. So she's the CFO of our company. She learned how to shoot by getting into the company. And she's an incredible businesswoman, an incredible mentor, and she's difficult, but we ended up just being best friends. And she's a huge motivation for me because she teaches me exactly like I want to be that. Like that is, I want to wake up every single day. If I take a day off, I know she's going to be one step ahead because she won't take a day off. So that was a huge motivation, and how kind of like I got to this position of where I'm at, or like who I am at a young age. My biggest motivation now, to be a little bit cheesy, is my boyfriend. I love him.
Okay.
And he's in the industry with me. And he pushes me, and every single day, same thing. He's, he and her are very similar in my life.
That's awesome. Yeah, and it's awesome to have two. They're both close. They're both near and dear to you. So they're influences every day, basically. So that's awesome. All right. And then what gets you up in the morning to do what you do every day? Like what gets you going?
Hands down, my students. I love and we'll kind of get into this maybe, like, I had no idea this would be my life. I mean, I was going to school for tourism. But everything that I do, whether, with any company that I work for, with any type of publication, like everything is for my students, for the ability for me to possibly reach one new person who wants to learn. And I would be that outlet for them. So every single day, if I can reach one person, I'm happy.
Well, this is a side tangent on that. So what made you switch? When you were graduating and you're like, okay, I'm going into the guns and I'm going into teaching and training people, what was the drive? What made you want to do that?
So I started teaching firearms. My family owns 3 indoor shooting ranges and a training facility in Phoenix. And so I grew up in that industry. I knew the curriculum. I knew how to handle firearms. That was my first job. And so going into college, I was told, you got to go to college. Like you got to figure out what you want to do. And I was like, I don't know what I want to do, but I love this stuff. So we'll do tourism. We'll do, hospitality and hotels and all that. So I'm going through that. I'm not loving it, but like, it's something that I'm more interested in. And at the same time, once I turned 21, that's when you can legally be a firearms instructor, especially for handguns. And so I became an instructor for our shooting ranges, and just doing that on the side because I knew I could make more money than working 9 to 5 at the front desk or selling guns. I knew I was, okay, I can make way more money teaching as a student than I can working, for 8 hours. So I did that and I loved it. This was 2017 at the time. So do the math, I'm 26. And I started my Instagram account, which is Some Chick Who Shoots. And I started that in the beginning of 2018 for my students, for the sole purpose of exploring concealed carry options, firearms, equipment for women in the industry that they would want to try. And I would kind of review them for my students. And then they had a kind of like a group that they could go to. That was private at the time, and then it went public. So fast forward to 2020, I'm growing this Instagram account. It's on the side and it's purely a hobby for me. And again, same sole purpose of just connecting with students and being able for my students to contact me whenever, without handing out my cell phone number to everyone, right? During 2020, it was the biggest year for the gun industry around the country. Insane. I mean, we had lines out the door. We were staying open multiple hours. We were working 7 days straight. We had to have spouses of our employees and team members come and help us because we couldn't handle the masses. So when that happened, with a lot of gun sales came a lot of desire for training. No one just bought a gun and was like, all right, I'm good. a lot of them wanted training, which is great. And so my parents said, Paige, you're on summer break right now, right? COVID, everything's shut down. Gun stores shut down because it's the Second Amendment. So we were exempt.
Sure.
And they said, you need to teach full time. So I said, okay. So taught full time. I was hours. We were teaching math classes, and I was teaching just about every day. It was insane. And that kind of transferred, and I was like, gosh, I love this. Like, I absolutely love it. So at the end of 2020, I became the I'm going to forget the title now. The training coordinator. I became the training coordinator for the company. So I was training instructors now and onboarding instructors and working on the curriculum. Fast forward to 2021, a lot of other things started jumping up, and I stepped away from the store, and through my Instagram, I had so much demand, which I'm so grateful for. And now I'm my own LLC, and I do my own training group.
That's awesome. And it's an awesome story.
Happened. Long story short, it just happened.
Well, that's perfect. I mean, sometimes we don't know what we're called to do until we're called to do it. And you obviously had the training for years growing up to do it, and then all of a sudden,
I didn't wake up like, oh, I'm gonna grow up to be this. I had no idea, but I was completely drawn to do it, and every sign and every decision that I made felt so right during 2020 and 2021 specifically, that I'm like, holy smokes, it's full steam ahead. So.
Yeah. Well, it's awesome too, because one of the things you said totally goes against the narrative of what people are told to assume with firearms, is that people are just somehow randomly buying them, almost as though they're illegally buying them, and they don't know what to do with them. And yet you're like, no, a lot of people wanted to learn how to shoot the gun that they just bought.
Yeah.
So
it was incredible.
And
let's kind of give you an insight on the, especially as a firearm retailer, we had lines out the door, but the best experience was when people would come up and we could tell, we hire, at least for my family store, we hire specifically on customer service, and then we train firearms. And that way we have, our team has people skills, and we have 50-50 men and women team members. And so they're able, regardless, you're relating to someone. Right. And I remember working the gun counter, selling guns, and it was just it was like the DMV. It was a fast DMV.
I was going to say, DMVs are typically slow.
Not slot DMV. We are go, go, go. And it's like a lunch line, and we're going through, and people are coming up, and I remember a lot of people are coming up timid and shy, and they don't know what to say. And I remember, it's like, how can I help you? What are you looking for? And they said, I don't know. And I was like, okay. And so we would talk a little bit, and we would get to the conclusion that they don't agree with guns. They didn't like guns. They don't want guns. They don't want people to own guns. They want,
Sure.
gun control. They're advocates for that. So they came in and they're like, never would I have thought that I would step into a gun store, but I know if I call 911, they're probably not coming. And it chilled me to the bone. And there was multiples of those people every single day saying, I don't want to do this, but I know I have to.
Yeah.
And it was so I think that really hit home for my passion too. Cause I love psychology, and I love getting to know people on a deep level. And so I would just thank them and be like, thank you for having the courage to come in here, because if you didn't have the courage, you would be buying a gun. I'm not going to come out there and try to get you. Right.
Yeah.
So we would talk, and we would go into lessons, and that's how I got a lot of private students as well. As we would talk on a real level, and I'm like, look, you don't have to love them, but let's respect them and be able to use them if you need to. And that was so eye-opening. And the gun industry will never see that again, honestly.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you were there to do it. I know Arizona, I think somebody told me Arizona has the most guns per capita out of any state. Is that true?
I'll fact check you on that.
Yeah.
let me look it up.
Somebody told me that.
Surprised, but there's also some that I'd be like, they're pretty, Texas.
Yeah.
I would say Texas or Tennessee. Probably some random one Oklahoma or something is going to be number one.
Okay.
Let me look that up.
Okay. Fair enough. I wasn't trying to trap you on it, but
no,
it was just one of my
buddies
told me. Yeah. Because I was curious too, because my dad was always like, if anything, falls apart, come to Pennsylvania. I'm like, no, not
Right.
going to Pennsylvania.
Why
I'm
would I do
super
that?
safe here. You're like, yeah, I'll hide in a mountain somewhere with my guns if I need to. But
Exactly.
anyways,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Laws are different
but
than everything. That's wild.
they are, yeah, they are. And then obviously carrying across state as well is a whole different battle and stuff. But we don't need to get into that piece of it.
Like
So
I teach that if anyone needs help with it.
good. But yeah, okay. So moving through that, getting you up every day, that's an awesome story too. And it really shows, I mean, and maybe like what you were learning in college, the hospitality and that side of things, and you love the psychology piece, it did make you pretty well equipped to do this job. So it's pretty unique to see, again, you never know what you're necessarily called for until it happens. And so you were like bred for this, which is awesome. So
Yeah.
when you're doing this, I mean, the majority of your clients, would you say they're female clients?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's purely I don't market more to men or women. I offer it to both, but probably almost 100% of my clients are women. And I think it's just because of we do go into like psychology, we do talk. I have a lot of trauma students. A lot of people, with high level anxiety who are trying to work around guns. And so it's how I teach and like the connection and that I make with my students and the heart that I have. It's not just like, okay, for this hour, we are going to teach this. Okay. And moving forward, and you need to do this. Like I talk about it and I'm very real with them. And so it appeals to a lot of women.
It's awesome. And there's a big demand for that too. And I know Megan, my wife, is going to be coming and taking class. I'm so grateful for that too.
So excited.
Of like, because she has this, I don't know what it is about. She has a magnetism about her where she gets in trouble all the time. Where like people will follow her or her car alarm will like go off on her phone, and she'll be like, I don't feel safe. And I'm like, well, I need to get you like a gun, but I need you to learn how to use it. Like you have to respect it. You have to
about some stuff she was dealing with, and I was like, oh no, no, back up. We got to talk this out. We need to make decisions. So I'm excited to work with her, and that's what you were saying, how she's like a magnet to some things. Like a gun is the absolute last resort. Like I'm not training people to like right. It's the absolute last resort, and it's learning how and when, if it's needed, and what firearm is here. And there are so many other steps to take to get out or de-escalate the situation that we talk about as well. So yes, I'm training safety with firearm, but then let's like talk about everything else. Let's talk about situational awareness and less lethal, all that, because that's arming your home, and that's going to be what you use more than a firearm. But a firearm takes longer. So as we're training that, let's focus on this.
Yeah,
I'm excited to work on that specifically.
Yeah, and when you said protecting a home too, do you watch Kevin Hart at all? This is a totally side tangent.
Oh,
he has a skit where, he does a skit where he has gun compartments all around his house because he got robbed or something.
Okay,
it's funny, but
now I need to. I'll watch it. List.
Yeah,
we need to fact check, and we need to watch Kevin Hart.
Yeah, just YouTube Kevin Hart gun compartment. You'll laugh. Hopefully you'll laugh. Otherwise you'll just think I'm weird, which is fine too. All right. So let's get into the deep questions here. So let's talk about just the mere fact of you're in pretty much a male dominated industry. So what have you learned throughout this, and how do you keep your confidence high, your energy high to be able to compete in that realm without kind of, I guess, being overshadowed by the male dominance? I didn't really ask that in like a great way, but
no, I know what you mean though. I have like two parts to this that I want to dive into.
Okay. Cool.
One is like how I keep my confidence with it, and how I see how I fit into the industry, honestly.
Right.
But also I want to touch on like how I am respected in the industry. So I want to talk about the respect thing first. So like as a female in a male dominated industry, there's a few things. And with the industry, we call it, just to give you a little background, like some women who decide to model with firearms, whether that's in a provocative way or not.
Okay.
It's kind of like they're called bunnies, gun bunnies.
Okay.
Now, what I was so worried about was posing with a firearm in a way that people didn't know me. People had no idea who I was. So I'm
Right.
starting on the internet as some chick who shoots, like and I'm like, how am I going to be respected? Because not only am I an instructor, but I need to be respected by my students. So if I'm posting things that, are questionable, or maybe they aren't even comfortable with their spouses looking at,
Sure.
how are they going to respect me as an instructor? And so I just like personally, I don't have a desire to like show everyone my body on the internet.
Yeah.
Never been part of my moral compass. So,
Yeah.
but I said, how am I going to do this? Because I can easily be seen as just a pretty girl in the industry, or, oh, she gets her hair done, she gets her nails done, like she wears girly things. I wear Gucci boots on the range because they're pretty. Like I show up, my beach bag is Gucci, like I have fun with it because I'm a total girly girl. So how am I going to gain that level of respect? And one was to make sure that I was modest and over accentuate my modesty, because I didn't want to be seen as, going into a gun store. It happens all the time, still to this day. I go into a gun store and, they ask me more questions, or they, they whisper, or they think I don't know anything. And I wanted to make sure that when I'm posting on the internet, they get me on the internet and me off the internet. I'm not a different person. I'm level-headed. I can have a conversation with you, and I don't care about taking pictures or posting selfies, or I don't care about that. And I'm not doing it for follows. And so I made sure, like, when I was posting initially, I would do ways that I conceal in different outfits. And it would be a two-sided one where I'm just posing in my outfit, like smiling, nothing like crazy. And then it's all business wear, really, because I was working. And then the other one would be like lifting up my shirt so that you could see where the gun was at. But I had to make sure that I was doing that in a very professional way. So it's I'm wearing, respectful, professional clothing, and showing you different ways to carry. So I'm getting the point across, but they don't have anything to talk about. So I started doing that on the respect side. And then I remember thinking, okay, I need to make sure that they have nothing to make fun of, really, right?
Right.
I'm level-headed. And then I wanted to be respected as an instructor, and being young, being female, and being pretty, and then having men and women come in and expect them to listen to me was very difficult. Or in my head, it was difficult. It was never hard. Like whenever I talk to them, they're like, okay, we understand you now. You know what you're doing. But it's that impression, like definitely that first impression. And so as my account started growing, not only with larger students, but on my Instagram, and now I'm getting eyes from big manufacturers. I'm getting eyes from big training groups that I highly respect and looked up to, big people. And so I said, okay, how am I going to be respected as an instructor in this industry? And I said, well, they probably don't think I can shoot. Because if I'm just posting concealment pictures, I'm getting product or whatever, I'm working with companies, they're probably thinking, can she even really shoot? So I said, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I can post videos of me shooting, but I'm going to go and I'm going to network with these people, and I'm going to actually take their classes. And it's still in the making of gaining respect. And I have respect in this industry, but it took a long time to like feel confident. And to feel like, yes, I am respected in an industry. I've earned my place as a highly respected person. I decided to invest my time and my money into taking classes from these training groups, traveling to other ranges, networking with them, speaking to them at big gun buying shows. I have a massive one coming up in 2 days. I need Sunday for it. It's a week long in Vegas, and that's a complete gun buying show. Like every person in the gun industry is there.
Awesome.
And so I'm networking with these people, and I'm talking to them, and I'm taking these classes. And these classes, I would be the only female, and I wouldn't really be talked to, probably for the first half of the day, until they saw me shoot. And then they said, "Oh, you can shoot," and I said, "Yeah, I'm also a person. Like I'm also here to learn, and I'm also here to make mistakes. I don't have an ego."
Yeah.
And so I've done multiples of those, and I'm continuing to do those, and that's how I feel like I've really earned respect and credibility in the industry. Because what you see on Instagram is only one half of it, or what I'm able to post, and so it's a whole slew of things, honestly, especially with this, and it's not having an ego, it's me. You know, I feel like with women, we want to, like, you introduce yourself, and if you say, "Hey, Paige, give me your backstory, or give me your background, or your credentials," right? We want to, like, list and bust them out to prove to you that we're credible, or to prove it to ourselves. And I learned, and I kind of experimented with it on my own, just to kind of see how people would react with certain things that I would say. And I was like, I'm going to be humble, and I'm not going to really say anything about what I do. If they're interested, they will ask, and they will respect it, because I know I'm good at what I do. But I don't need to go into every room and prove to every single person why I'm a girl with a gun, or a badass with a gun, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I'm humble. I don't need that, and my personality and my energy will speak for itself, and the rest will go from there. And people who don't like me, I say, "Do you know what? I appreciate your honesty. You don't have to like. That's it. Like I'm not going to waste my energy on that. And thank you for being honest." And I think that really gained respect too. I'm not causing drama. I'm not catty. I'm professional. I don't, that's the reputation that I've built, and I've worked really hard to build, honestly.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And like the whole time I'm like, just being me, I'm like, man, I used to be self-conscious being a doctor. I wouldn't tell anybody my age. And that was like the only thing. I'm like, oh, I felt like I was too young. And now I'm 36. I'm like, what the hell was I worried about? Like, who cares?
Yeah, like what age are you like, oh, okay, I feel like I could tell people my age now.
Right, yeah.
I know. I felt that way. I was 21, 22 teaching classes and training armed security guards. And they're like, "How old are you?" And I would feel the same way. I'd be like,
yeah.
How old do I look?
That's the exact same thing. How old do you think I am?
Yeah.
Which is like the insecure me stepping out, like, please say I'm older, and I'll just shake my head and say yes.
Yeah, exactly.
But but that's where it like stopped for me. I mean, yeah, there's information. There might be people that are smarter than me in the industry out there, but hearing what you went through, and I hope through this that you're able to really express like the truest version of yourself. I don't want you to have to feel like you have to shell yourself from anybody else, or like block a little bit until you're deemed worthy. But I think the way that you're going about it is basically like the underdog kind of mentality, where it's like, this is going to be enjoyable. I can't wait to show you how good I am. This is my craft. This is what I love. This is what I enjoy. And then you get it and you're like, yep, told you. Like without telling you, it's kind of why I'm here.
And honestly, that's a really good, that's to a T, like kind of my mentality of it. Because if I go in like, I don't know, like I'm just here to learn, you're above me in this industry, or you're someone I look up to, a superior, and then they see me work, shoot, communicate, teach, whatever it is, and that's the most rewarding feeling. And it could be for my own selfish reasons, where I'm like, I'm gonna act, like, not that I don't know anything, but I'm gonna stay quiet. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna speak up in classes, because I'm the student, I'm not the teacher, and I want to respect that, and I want to show them respect. And then truly the best feeling is when they come up and they're like,
yeah. You're internally laughing on the inside. You're like, yeah, Yeah.
And I wear my emotions on my sleeve. I cannot do a poker face for the life of me. So I just get the big grin and I'm like, hey, want to talk now? Like, do we want to have a conversation? So yeah, I think it's important, and it's hard for women to, I mean, men and women, like you said, with your age, like you were worried about that depending on what industry you're in. And I think it's important, like, to find, I'm grateful that I had role models that helped me find like my security in what I do and my passion for what I do. And, you know, I had very, very tough times as well. Like, I worked my ass off, but I'm grateful for that. And it's difficult for some people, and I'm grateful that I was able to kind of figure it out, and it's so rewarding.
Yeah, because in a way you're shattering, or you're shattering. I was going to say shooting, but that wouldn't be the right way. You're shattering the stereotype of like a woman with a gun.
Yeah.
You know, people in their heads are like, I don't know if I would trust it, but like you should, because as long as they're trained properly, just like a guy, like there's a lot of idiot men out there that don't know how to shoot for crap. I've seen them. We went to Ben Avery, and I feel bad. The guy's a really great guy, but he's a horrible shotgun shot. There's one clay that shoots like right in front of you, and it just like hovers there. And he went through, I think, 8 rounds before he actually hit any of it. And we're like, dude, come on. But like, so I mean,
you just don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
But a lot of that with men in the industry is ego. And I think the reason why I don't get a lot of male students is because of their ego. I'm going to tell you exactly how it is. I'm going to respect you, and I'm going to thank you for coming to see me, and I can help you. But you need to drop that ego, unless like I can't help you. So it's totally up to you.
Yeah.
I have trained next to, like, it's been me and a male instructor, and I could say the same thing, but a man will listen to the male instructor more than me. Some or most men. I don't like stereotype everyone, but with my experience, and you just have to get to a point where it's helped me with outside of teaching and shooting as well. Of okay, like I'm not going to change you today. I'm not.
Yeah.
You know, like if you're at the grocery store, yes, there's going to be disrespectful people who they have the ego, don't want to talk to you, whatever it may be. I'm going to take a deep breath and I'm going to walk away from it, because I'm not going to change that person today. And I've taught myself with shooting and teaching firearms. It's helped me so much with everything in my life, psychologically and emotionally, that just to have patience and like, all right, I just need to accept that you are who you are, and you don't want help from me, and that's okay.
There's a piece of that where it's like a choice of perception, where when you see somebody acting a certain way or behaving a certain way, we can perceive it as like, what did I do wrong? Am I inferior? Why won't they listen to me? When in reality, it's a displacement of what they're going through internally. And so when you run it past that perception filter, like, that has nothing to do with me at all. I'm going to go train my people who want to be trained by me, and I'm going to do a damn good job doing it. So yeah, I love that you've been able to kind of differentiate that too, because that's the last thing I'd want for you and your boyfriend. I would feel bad too if you're coming home and you're just like, man, I'm so defeated. Like, these guys are treating me like shit today. Like that would be miserable. And then he'd probably want to go have a conversation with them. But
right, yeah. What's so funny? Just a side note. So he's in the industry with me. So he's a rep for a manufacturer, and we don't work. We don't have the same job. Obviously, we're in the industry. We go to the same events, which is really fun. So we know the same people, but we still have different avenues that we are experts in, and it's our other. We get to communicate and share it with each other, which I love. And it is so funny because so for instance, it's called SHOT Show, and it's in Vegas, and it's this huge buying show. Like I said, I mean, rooms of booths, it's massive. And what's funny is he's experienced it a few times now where we'll go up, and I'm more of an introvert in big crowds. I don't like talking over people. If you want to talk over me, go for it. I'll listen. I it stresses me out. So
Sure.
he is such a good people person, and he will
Yeah.
talk to anyone. And I am not that way. I'm like big crowds. I'm just gonna observe. If anyone wants to come up
Yeah.
to me, they're welcome to. And so we'll talk, or we'll be at an event where I am expected to be there. I have, like I'm the known person, or I need to be the one that they talk to. But
Yeah.
he comes up, Dustin is his name, and he'll come up and
Yeah.
he'll start talking, and they get all like, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, this is my girlfriend. So I'm like, hi. And they don't know me. That's okay. And 10, 15 minutes later go by, and they don't ask me what I do. They don't ask me why I'm here. They don't ask me like anything, right? They just expect that I'm with him. And he'll butt in, and he's like, she's in the industry too, or she's this. And they're like, oh, okay. And then 10, 15 minutes later, and then we get to like a business topic, and he's like, you actually need to talk to her about that. And I look at him, and they're like, and I'm like, hey. And they find out who I am. And they're like, oh, like it makes sense. And I'm like, it's that immediate like that you're used to in your brain, whether it's men or women, that you just think that it's
That's crazy.
a male-dominated industry, therefore any male here does not belong in the industry. And I know that's not the case anymore. And this is probably with a lot of, even maybe in the medical industry still. Is it?
What, female doctors and stuff?
Yeah, like is it? I don't know.
I think the battle is more between like doctors and nurses right now versus like men and women. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like most women are respected.
No.
I think.
Yeah. That's scary.
We're all under it. I mean, with what I do, we're all under attack for natural stuff. But anyways.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
How is that actually? I'm curious.
What
is that like?
It's getting super weird. My buddy, he sent me an article yesterday. I didn't fact check it yet, but I think New Zealand was starting to ban holistic herbs. Like coconut was like one of like the holistic like foods and stuff that you're not allowed to use. Passion flower, like a lot of the traditional herbs that I use, they're trying to ban them in New Zealand now. But in terms of like I'm in a process of, I've got a 3-part COVID series I'm going to be doing that you'll probably enjoy my perspective on it. There's like a pre, a during, and a post-COVID, and like what we need to do and like how we need to protect ourselves and what they fucking did to us. Anyways. But there's a lot of people who are now distrusting medical doctors, and they're coming to find people like me who are doing things completely different than what they may have thought of before. I just had a child that was born, it wasn't my child, but had a patient who had a kid that was born premature, C-section delivery, Down syndrome, and had a TSH, like a thyroid reading that was, I think it was 50. And they wanted to put this baby on Synthroid. And Synthroid is like a T4, it's a synthetic T4, which is an inactive thyroid hormone. How much of this you know, I don't know, but
I'll pick up what I can.
Okay, so basically you have TSH, it's a signal from the brain telling the thyroid to work. And then it produces T4, which is inactive, T3 is active. It's like what our body uses.
Okay.
And so the baby had normal T4, but they wanted to give more T4 to send a feedback to the brain to say stop producing TSH. And they wanted to do that for like the first 5 years of life. And I'm like, no, don't do that. And the mom was like, well, what do we do? I'm like, well, take care of the gut. It was a C-section birth, so it was stressful. They didn't get the probiotics they're going to need from you, so we rebuilt their gut. And in 2 weeks, the TSH went from 50 to 5. So it's still some room for improvement. Normal range is like 0.5 to like 2 or so, but it was still a huge improvement just in a very short amount of time. So there's more people like that are trying to find a more holistic route, and I barely did anything for the baby. So yeah, it's just weird. It's weird out there.
Your solution just isn't straight go to medicine. It's like, hey, there's some stuff over here that I can help you in. And yes, there are some things that need to be, traditional medicine or, but there's all this stuff too. I agree though, like growing up, like the idea of holistic, I feel like it's a bad adjective for it. It makes it sound like it's like this, like, and I feel like people have that idea because of the name that's associated to it. And thankfully, I mean, I feel like COVID opened up a lot of people's eyes of, hey, we need to explore other options, not just like what we're told.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good that
Yeah.
you guys are seeing that open up now.
Hopefully it continues to do so. I'm going to keep shoving it down as best I can. I've been censored, shadow banned on Instagram constantly. I'll probably get shadow banned because somehow this will get picked up, and then because I said COVID, it'll get banned.
Yeah.
Like I was doing Zooms and I would talk about COVID and my Zoom would shut down during like the height of COVID. Every single time I would do it, within 2 seconds, Zoom would shut down. And I was like, what the heck is going on? Yeah, it was such a pain in the ass to shoot the podcast. But yeah, so hopefully things are going to be getting better with, the censorship and, actually allowing people to have freedom of speech for a change. Hopefully. So I'll just keep chugging away as best I can.